Cyberpunk can be a little intimidating for new and returning players, but this video should remove any fear and trepidation you might have while enjoying your playthrough. This video is going to be the most complete beginner guide for Cyberpunk 2.0 that I could make without spoiling anything. By the time you finish this video, you will understand every system that you need to know to play the game confidently. If you got questions, ask them in the comments below. I'll read and respond to every single one. Also, be sure to take advantage of the timestamps to revisit any topic you need to come back to later. Now, let's get into it. Alright, let's start right at the beginning of Cyberpunk 2.0. The first thing that you're going to have to do is create a new game. Go ahead, choose your difficulty. The devs are basically willing you to choose hard. That's why the barcode is there. However, you can choose whichever difficulty you want to go for. And after you choose your difficulty, you're going to be presented with the choice of your background. You can choose between Nomad, Street Kid, or Corpo. All three of these are more than capable of doing absolutely every piece of this game. There's just going to be a little bit different lore behind your character, which means you'll approach certain conversations slightly differently with a slightly different attitude. Some of them will have dialogue options, the other ones won't when they're faced with a certain situation or inside of a certain conversation. There is no wrong answer, so pick the one that sounds fun to you. Once you've chosen your background, you're going to be able to create your character. Now for the first piece of the character creation process, where I actually do have some advice for you. The game is going to give you 7 points to spend. You start off with 3 points in each attribute, and you've got 7 that you can add to whatever categories that you want. And my biggest piece of advice here, if you're not sure right now what you want to do with your build, we'll dive way more into attributes when we get into the game, and we can dive into the attributes menu. But for now, if you're not sure what you want to do, you really can't go wrong by getting every one of these up to 4. And that is because 4 is one of the thresholds for each stat to unlock new perks and abilities that your character can take advantage of. And so you will never regret having each one at 4. That's going to be the first threshold of really powerful passives or abilities that you can unlock. And then you can lean into whatever you think is going to be really useful. So we're going to hit next. It's going to show you basically a summary of your character, names V, the difficulty you chose, the background you chose, and also which stats that you decided to go with. Now, when you arrive in the game, where you start is going to depend what background you chose. And so everybody's start is going to be slightly different, but then their paths are going to converge shortly after that. So let's dive into the systems of the game and the way in which you should approach all of the quests, the side quests, and everything that this game has to offer. So one of the first things you're going to want to understand is your HUD. All of the stuff that's on screen right now, telling you some very important information. So we'll go counterclockwise, starting on the left there. On the left, you can see that we can press T on PC to bring up your phone. If you're on console, it's going to tell you what button you need to press instead. And that would bring up our phone. Our phone is going to be really important in Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk 2.0 because it's going to give us quests, gigs, jobs, all kinds of work. We're going to be able to push storylines along with our phone. Do not neglect your phone. It's going to constantly be buzzing at you and ringing. And my best piece of advice is to engage with those calls when they come in and respond to those text messages when they come in. If you ghost people, you're going to be missing out on a lot of really cool content and some really cool rewards. Below that, you've got your ability to summon your car, and you can push that button to summon your car. You can hold it down to choose which car you want to summon. After that, you've got your heal. They changed this. So now your heal has a cooldown. You can see that I currently have 2 that I can use. So if we use one, it goes down to 1 and the cooldown starts counting up for that second one to come back. I can use it again and now I have none to use. My best piece of advice as far as using your heal is to use it when you get it around 30% missing health. That way you're starting to recharge your cooldown on your heal so that you can use it when you need it again. Don't wait until you're on empty and then knock out 2 of them. Now you're gonna have to wait for 2 full cooldowns before you have those back. Same thing goes with the grenades. They changed these so that now they are on a cooldown. You find or collect one of a specific type of grenade and you can equip it. Now on the right, just below the minimap, we've got the quests that we are currently tracking. And then above that, we have the minimap. And to the left of the minimap, it would tell you your wanted level. And the wanted level will go from 1 star to 5 stars. Each star you get is going to be increasingly more difficult to evade and survive the police. And if the police are chasing you, it's real easy to get them to stop chasing you. Just go hide. Usually in between buildings or on top of buildings is going to be your best bet. If you stay on the streets, you tend to run into another cop car constantly. And so the timer for them to forget about you just won't run out before you run into another cop. So leave the beaten paths, wait for the stars to fall off, and that problem will be over. Above that, you've got the clock, which is going to tell you the current current time in the game, not your time, but the game time. So for me, it's 9:06 a.m. in the game. And then if we keep going towards the left, well, since it popped up, we just had a call pop up. That's one of those things I would have wanted to answer, see what he wants. It's okay. He sent me a text message after I didn't answer the call. So we still have the opportunity to respond to him. We didn't miss that forever. Don't worry. We could just press T and we've got all of our text messages here and we can go ahead and respond to people that have been hitting us up. Now at the top of the screen there, we've got 2 timers counting down. One has a plus symbol on it. That is a health recovery buff. And the one next to it is XP, which is an XP buff. And the way you get this XP and this health recovery buff that is counting down is by sleeping. So if you sleep, you're going to get a nice solid XP buff every time you wake up. And if you shower, you're going to get that health recovery bonus. And both of these are going to be really nice to have. It's always nice to have more health recovery in combat. And it's always nice to get extra XP because if we look at my character here, you'll notice that I am level 50 street cred. It was real easy for me to get a lot of street cred because so many things that you do in this game give you street cred. Any of these activities out on the streets that you're constantly driving by. If you decide to engage with those activities, and especially if you decide to kill all of the bad guys or the gang members or the whoever's there, you accrue a lot of street cred really fast. One of the reasons you want to level up your street cred is because having your street cred leveled up is going to determine what you are and aren't able to buy from NPCs all around the game. Basically, this is going to be like, are you worthy of purchasing this car, this weapon, this thing from me? And it's going to be largely based off of your street cred. The more street cred you have, the more stuff that you can buy. My level, however, is only 30 and the max level was just increased to 60 in the game with the release of 2.0 and Phantom Liberty here. So because we're going to now be able to go to level 60, that XP bonus is going to be even more useful than it was before because those levels come a little bit slower than I'd like them to. But before we continue, let me take a second to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever before by delivering fresh, never frozen, delicious food to your doorstep. The main reason I love Factor is because of convenience. Who has time to spend 30 minutes cooking every single meal? That's where Factor stands apart from the competition. It delivers meals to your door that take 2 minutes to heat up. Whether it's getting you back to work or getting you back to your favorite game, no one has you covered like Factor. It's perfect for trying to lose weight. Have calorie-conscious items delivered to your door that help you shed weight easier than ever before. I was burning money and eating garbage to save time. Fortunately, Factor solved both of those problems for me as it saves me time and money, all while making it so that I don't have to stand in line at a grocery store or even leave my house. Perfection. If you want to eat better while saving money and time, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code LUCKYGHOST50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Again, save 50%, yes, 50% by heading to factor75.com and using code LUCKYGHOST50. Don't miss this amazing deal, guys, and thanks for listening. Now, let's get back to the video while you're checking out those amazing meals that you can have delivered to your doorstep. Now, to the left of those buff timers, you've got your health bar, and then just below that, you've got your RAM, which is basically your mana or your hacking and all of that kind of stuff that you do in this game. If you're quick hacking, it uses RAM. Just think of it like quick hacking is your spells and RAM is your mana in any other like fantasy RPG, right? That's how that works. So those little slots below the health bar, that's our RAM. And we spend that every time we want to use a quick hack. And the little blue line above the health bar is your XP bar. Now below your RAM there, we've got our stamina. So if I start shooting, you see our stamina there. And if we keep shooting, our stamina is going to run out. What this does when we run out of stamina is the recoil becomes more intense and harder to control. So it's not the end of the world if you run out of stamina. It's not that big a deal at all, actually. But, you know, that's what happens. Sprinting and jumping, right? All these things, they don't consume stamina at all. So you can sprint all you want. You can jump all you want, climb, whatever you want to do. That's not going to consume your stamina. It's really, you know, things like firing your gun and aiming down your sight and just firing like a machine gun. And eventually your arms are going to get tired and it's going to be harder to control your gun with a high level of accuracy. And to show you the police mechanic in action here, you can see we've got a star there next to the map. And if we were to like keep harassing these cops, we would go ahead and see that go up to 2 stars like it has, and then it'll go up to 3 and 4. And if we decide, hey, you know what, I don't want to have any more stars anymore, I'm done with these cops following me everywhere, we could go and find a nice spot to hide where they wouldn't see us, in between some buildings, up on top of some buildings, and eventually they'd lose sight of us and they'd forget that we existed, and all crimes that we committed would be forgotten about as well. So there is no running bounty that doesn't track you. Like after the encounter, it doesn't remember you committed that crime. You're totally, you know, off scot-free as soon as you lose them. See, now the stars are disappearing. That means the police have almost forgot about us. Okay, now that the HUD is all out of the way, let's talk about your character and your stats, because this is something you're gonna have to start choosing and deciding early on. And this is gonna be something that it may be worth it for you to kind of look ahead and see what options are available under each tree so that you can decide on the build that's gonna be right for you. Because as I mentioned, you don't get to respec infinitely in this game. Once you put your attributes in, you can only change them once with this button right here. Now you can change them once thanks to this nice new button here with 2.0. So you can just play the game and play it by ear as you go. And then eventually when you have a better idea of what the game is and what you want to do this time around, you can reset all your attributes and then actually put a build together. Or you can do that from the beginning and then potentially have another build, a second build on the same playthrough. Like if you want to try something else different. Up to you kind of how you want to save and spend that reset, but just know you only get one. So it's probably going to be best to be thoughtful about where you put your points. And as we mentioned, these are your attributes and there are thresholds for each one of these. So you're going to want to either stop at 4, 9, 15, or 20, right? Because that's when you unlock the next tier of perks. So if we look at reflexes here, you can see the tiers: Rookie, Pro, Phenom, Legend. Right, so Rookie unlocks with 4 points in this attribute, reflexes here. Pro unlocks when I get 9 points in this attribute. Phenom unlocks when we get 15 points. That's this row of perks and attached perks here. And then Legend unlocks when we get 20 points into reflexes. So you can only get 3 of these up to 20. There's not enough points to get 4 of them up to 20. So definitely take a peek at what those level 20 perks are in each one. Decide what you're going to want to go for, what you're really going to want to pump some points into, what kind of playstyle you want to have. There's no right or wrong answer. Everyone has really fun, really cool builds, but I'll quickly touch on like which one you're going to want to go towards first based on kind of their primary attributes. So if you took my advice and you got everything to 4, that means you're going to have this first row unlocked on every one of these, which means you're going to have some pretty cool perks. You got a 5% instant recharge of your health items and grenades after neutralizing enemies. So every time you kill an enemy, your cooldown goes down 5%. You've also got increased vehicle health, stuff like that. Like lots of really cool perks at that base level just for having those 4 points that we invested right from the beginning. Technical is going to give you a lot of cool cyberware stuff, and it's going to increase your cooldown items. So your heals and your grenades are going to have nice buffs in here. If you want to invest in technical ability, I think technical ability is probably the most improved line with 2.0. This is going to be the one that my next playthrough is going to invest heavily in, and I'm definitely going to go hard on cyberware because they have buffed cyberware so much. So if you want to do a cyberware playthrough, get really cool, a really powerful build, and live your best edge runner life, right? Technical ability is going to be a great one for you. Reflexes is going to be fantastic for someone that wants to use assault rifles, sniper rifles, or a blade. So if you want to do any of those things, reflexes is going to be great. It's also got some nice mobility stuff in here as well. If you want to go more of a melee route, you want to hit things and beat them down with a hammer, then body is going to be fantastic for you. Body is also going to allow you to pry open doors. There's a lot of checks in the game. You'll walk up to a door and the only way to get in is to pry it open with your bare hands if you can't hack it, right? So body is nice. It's a good one to have some points into. It feels pretty good if that's the route you're going to go. Intelligence is going to have your quick hacking passives, and it's going to have your smart weapon passive. So if you like the idea of firing a gun and not having to aim it in order to get headshots, smart weapons are going to be a lot of fun for you. You can fire just about anywhere and the bullets will find the enemy's head. It's really fun. They are as smart as they sound, and quick hacking is also going to be incredibly useful in this game and a really powerful tool, especially with all the new changes to cyberware and quick hacking in the game. Then finally we have cool, which is going to have some nice buffs for pistols, revolvers, rifles, and sniper rifles, as well as throwing blades. And so if that's a route you want to go, then cool is going to be your best bet. And then finally, we're going to have the Relic, which is going to be brand new with Phantom Liberty. Okay, so the Relic is something that you're going to unlock as soon as you start the Phantom Liberty DLC content. You're going to get a quest or a call from Songbird. I recommend as soon as you get that call, you head over and you start participating in it. You don't have to do the entire Phantom Liberty storyline, but once you start it, you're going to unlock your Relic powers, which are incredibly nice to have. They're just a lot of fun. So if we click on this, we can see all of our Relic powers that we can unlock, and there's some really nice ones here. This one is fantastic. Some of these are going to take 3 points. Some of them will take 1 point. So just be aware of that. You get 3 points right off the bat. So if you pick one and you run out of points, that's why these cost 3 points right here, these 3. And then this one here is only going to be 1 point. So you start off getting 3 points to start with from Songbird, and then you are going to find machines like this. You're also going to be able to see it on your map there. You can see it on my mini map. That symbol, that means that it's there. If you run into one of these, it's always going to show up on your map too. So if you run by one and you miss it because you didn't hear it, no problem. It's going to be there on the map. Don't sweat it. And you're going to come up to it and you're going to jack in just like so. And by doing so, you're going to get yourself a new Relic point to spend. There it is, Relic point acquired. We open up the tree, come in here, and now we can put a point into one of these. We've only got 1 point, so we're gonna go ahead and grab this second one here. What this one does is when you're fighting an enemy, it'll randomly have like a weak point that you can aim at. You'll do a ton of extra damage whenever you shoot that weak point. It's a ton of fun. It's really satisfying play style. I really enjoy it. And then if you grab this, it's going to buff this passive even further, making it happen more often and causing more crit damage along the way. So if you're not sure which one to pick, you know, there's 2 contenders for me. And don't worry, it doesn't matter what you pick. You can change it anytime you want. You can slot in and out just like your perks and try all of the things, so you don't have to stress about picking the wrong one. Just pick the one that looks fun and then try the other one later. And be sure to keep an eye out for these machines. Before we continue, I just wanted to thank you for watching the video, and if you're enjoying, be sure to like and subscribe for more RPG content. Thanks, let's get back to it. One of the best changes that came with 2.0 is that we can constantly and freely change our perks. So we can't change our attributes, but because I have reflexes at 20, if I wanted to, I could spec out of all of these perks on this side of my reflexes tree, and I can instead move them over here if I want. And I can do this anytime I want for free, right? Anytime. So you just click on the ability to spec in and you press whatever button it says there, for me, middle mouse click, and that's going to refund my perk point. And it used to be, prior to 2.0, you had to go buy an item that cost 100,000 credits, right? And then you had to use that to reset your perk points. It was a lot of time and a lot of money in order to do a simple respec of your perks. No longer, now you can respec at will, which is a really nice change with 2.0. So take advantage of that. So what's going to happen is every time you level, you're going to get 1 attribute point, and you're going to be able to spend that 1 attribute point on any one of these things. And then as you play the game, you're going to unlock perk points. And the way you unlock perk points is in here. You've got these skills. So as you level up your skills, headhunter, netrunner, shinobi, solo, or engineer, along the way, you're going to see passives that you unlock. Decreases visibility to enemies by 10%. Headshot damage, 10% increase, right? Damage against vulnerabilities increased by 10%. And then finally, boom, a perk point, right? And you're going to get a lot of perk points by just simply playing the game and by leveling these up. So if you want to level up the headhunter line, you're going to want to kill enemies with axes, pistols, knives, headshots. It was a really good way to constantly level this one up for me, is just headshotting lots of enemies, which I tended to aim for naturally anyway. So that's why this one is so far ahead of the rest on this playthrough, is because I'm constantly headshotting enemies. Netrunner, if you're doing Netrunner stuff, quick hacks, plugging into access points, all that good stuff, you're going to level up your Netrunner and get these passives over here. Shinobi. Shinobi's going to level up by dashing, dodging, using swords, katanas, and assault rifles. And then Solo is going to level up with shotguns, hammers, light machine guns, gloves, and your gorilla arms, things like that. One quick thing I want to mention about Solo is if you find a decent shotgun, I would use it to eliminate your enemies for a bit. You will be amazed at how fast Solo levels up. And just those quick levels are going to give you increased carrying capacity 50, and then some health, some perks, perks, of course, but then increase damage and attack speed with your fists, which is great for the boxing challenges that are scattered throughout the game, and then increase your carry capacity by 100. So if you're the type of person that's going to be looting anything and everything, definitely pull that shotgun out and get those quick, easy levels on solo and get those fantastic perks up to 25 and get that extra 100 carry capacity. You won't regret it. And then of course, engineer is going to level when using tech weapons, grenades, and as these level up, like we mentioned, you're going to get these perks, and these perks are going to have some pretty nice passives attached to them. You can max out all of these, so you can get these all to max level if you want to, and you'll see that the max level here is going to be 60 for each of these. And so it's probably going to be worth, kind of cruising through here, reading over some of the passives, seeing what looks cool to you, what you want to focus on leveling up. A lot of times what you'll find is the game very naturally levels up the playstyle that you kind of have a tendency to lean into. If you're using an assault rifle and you're headshotting lots of enemies, your headhunter is going to be leveling up really fast. You're going to be unlocking these perks that kind of lean into your playstyle. Same with Netrunner. Like if you're hacking everything and everybody, this one's going to level up really fast, and you're going to get these points to make you better at doing the thing that you're constantly doing. It's got a really nice flow to it that way. So I highly recommend skimming through here, especially, these max level ones, seeing what you're working towards and what you really want to unlock. But ultimately, the nice thing about this is you can max all of them out and you can level them all. So it's not one of those things where you have to decide between one thing or another and you have that FOMO happening. Okay, so that covers leveling up, what you get when you level an attribute point. It covers perks and how you unlock perks, basically by playing the game. You're just constantly going to be unlocking those perks, doing those things that correspond to the skill progression. And then also we talked about respecking your attributes and your perks. So next, let's take a look at our inventory. So in your inventory, you've got 3 weapons that you can have equipped at any one time. You just click on the blank spot, you click on the weapon you want to equip, and now that weapon is equipped, right? And you can cycle through those the way you always cycle through them on your platform of choice. On PC, right, it's going to be 1, 2, and 3 to pull out this weapon, and this one. Okay, so when you choose a weapon, one of the things you'll be able to do is put on attachments and mods. And there's a very important distinction between attachments and mods. Attachments, you can change at will. You can just click on this and just put it on anytime you want. It's not costing you anything. It's not hurting, right? You're just getting the new item. You're slapping it onto the weapon. Same with this slot here. We can put that on anytime we want. Mods, on the other hand, right? This mod slot is there. It's stuck there, right? I can't just slap something else over it. In fact, it says slot is already filled when I try. Same thing. I come down here, I put that on. Now that's attached. I can't put anything else there. So the important difference to remember between attachments and mods is attachments you can swap out, really freely. You get a really good attachment and you can put it on the weapon, and then you get a new favorite weapon. You can take the attachment off and put it on your new favorite weapon, right? Whereas mods, you're probably going to want to be a little more thoughtful about what mods you're putting where, since they're a lot less fluid with how they're used. And then next we have our gear, or our clothing. Now, prior to 2.0, this used to be your armor stat, just like any other RPG. You put on armor and it gave you stats. Well, they got rid of that. Now this is 99.9% cosmetic. And I say 99.9% cosmetic because it is still possible to wear a body armor chest piece, like a bulletproof vest, and get a little bit of extra armor. But you by no means need to do that, right? It's such a trivial amount of armor that you don't have to do that, but you can if you want to. But really what the developers were trying to accomplish here is they wanted you to be able to look the way you wanted to look. They wanted your character to look cool rather than being an absolute mess like they were pre 2.0, where we had to wear clothes based on their stats. And so your outfit never matched. And anytime you saw your character, it was almost laughable how ridiculous they looked. So they went ahead and they removed the stats from your clothes and they put it instead on your cybernetics. So now your cyberware is going to be really important because it's doing much more than it used to, and it affects your play style way more than it used to. So we'll talk about that in a moment. The important thing to know about your gear is, much like your weapons and stuff like that, you're going to find this as you play. You're going to kill people. They're going to drop stuff. Occasionally they'll drop clothes. You can also go to clothing shops, buy clothes, and anytime you buy clothes, it's going to be added, or anytime you lay your hands on clothes or a clothing item in any way, it's going to get permanently added to your wardrobe, so that when you go to your apartment or when you go to a clothing store, you're going to be able to choose your outfit. You're going to be able to click on it, and in here you have all of your outfit options. This is every top that my character has found or interacted with in some way, and you don't have to keep it. So if you find this and you disassemble it for the parts or you sell it for the money, it's still going to be in your wardrobe, right? It's got a nice little transmog system, if you're familiar with all that stuff. So really cool system. Love what they did with this. Next in here, you can see your cyberware. So if we click into the cyberware menu, we can see all of the layers of cyberware that your character can wear, and it is quite in depth. There's a lot of cyberware you can wear, and this can be a little daunting at first. It can be really easy for players to open this up and go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of things, and you hover over it and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. The big things to take away from like the whole cyberware conversation is that now there are things on cyberware like armor, right? So this has 70 armor on it. The armor has been moved here from your clothes. So, you know, skeleton pieces especially are going to have a lot of armor on them. And this is one of those things that's going to be important to pay attention to and to level up your cyberware, you know, get it to a higher tier. Make sure you're not wearing horrible cyberware because a lot of your armor is coming from here. So if it falls behind, you're going to find that you feel very squishy. Now, if you're not sure which cyberware to kind of focus on first, I find that if you're going to use smart weapons, you have to have the smart weapon compatible hands. So just keep that in mind. If you want to be able to double jump, because double jumping always feels amazing in games, then you're going to want to get these reinforced tendons on the leg piece. Oh, and the integumentary system, and the integumentary. I don't know how to say that word. I'm sorry. You got lots of armor here if you need more armor. And circulatory system, this is going to be nice for healing yourself, your health, recovery, that kind of a thing, right? That's on a cooldown. And the hand slot that I was talking about earlier. So we would want something that said it was good with smart weapons if we wanted to use smart weapons. I would have to go to a Ripperdoc to change this out. I'll show you guys one of those in a second here. And so basically one of the things you're going to want to do early is fill this up. You're going to want to get something in every slot, and you're going to find that you find these pieces from, you know, killing enemies, searching chests and containers, and also from browsing Ripperdoc. So you're going to want to head to one of these guys here. See, this is a Ripperdoc. That's what that symbol on the map looks like. And we'll go over the map and all the symbols and what everything means. Don't worry, because it's going to be real common for you to open this up and just be kind of overwhelmed by all the symbols and what's happening. And don't worry, when I explain it, it won't be so scary anymore. You know, if you've stepped away for a while and you're like, oh my God, I don't remember what any of that is, or if you've never played, don't worry, you know, we're going to cover this in a second. You'd go to one of those Ripperdocs and you just browse and buy all these pieces and fill them up the best you can. So when you come to a Ripperdoc, you have a couple of options. One thing you can do here is change your appearance. So if you ever decide that you don't like the way your character looks, don't worry, that's not forever in this world. You can come here and change your appearance very easily. You can also come here for those implants, which you'll be doing most of the time. So we'll talk to her and we'll say, hey, show me your implants. And she'll tell us what she has for sale in each of these positions here. So if we click on a spot, it shows us that we could buy this one here, or this one here, or this one here, right? And then just by clicking on it, we can go ahead and assign it to a position. If we wanted to, we could say, all right, put that there, right? And now we've got that new piece on. And while you're here, another thing that you can, and you should do, is upgrade your cyberware, especially if you've got a piece that you like. And remember that you can upgrade cyberware just like you can upgrade weapons. So you can upgrade it from 2 to 2+, then 3 to 3+, 4 to 4+, and ultimately to 5. So just, you know, don't forget to upgrade your cyberware by coming here. And as you can see, it's going to be quite spinny. You're going to go through your parts very fast, upgrading your cyberware, especially because there's just so many pieces of it that you can have on. On the left side here, it tells you how much cyberware you are wearing and how much left you can wear. And then to get this extra cyberware slot right here, you have to have that Edge Runner perk from the tree. So my character right now is 2 bars from being at max capacity. And then if I get that perk, I'll be able to unlock these bars here. I think it's going to be a nice perk to have in 2.0 and beyond because they've really made cyberware a lot more interesting and a lot more useful. And then on the right side there, you can see that we are also getting armor for putting some of these on. It's telling us how much armor we're getting. I get 2 extra armor out of 311 if I take that one. Whereas if we come down here, yeah, there we go. If we grab this, we're going to get 47 increased armor, which would be very nice to have. So we put that on and there we go. Now we're up to 358 armor, and armor is important. You're definitely going to want to have a ton of armor. So don't neglect that stat over there. It's real easy to forget about as you're playing through the game. One last thing about cyberware is that it's going to have attunements now. This is new with 2.0. So you'll see that this item says it's intelligence attuned. So I would want to look for or purchase items that said reflex attuned because this character has 20 reflex. So just kind of be on the lookout for items that are attuned to the stat that you are leveling up. And when you go to a Ripperdoc, you'll be able to browse for the attunement that you want. If it's selling something in intelligence attunement, it's often also going to be selling it in other attunements as well, so that you can find the stat you want. And the buffs are going to change based on what it is attuned to. So intelligence attunement here is giving me increased damage dealt per attribute point, and it's giving me headshot damage multiplier and extra health, right? If that was a different attunement, it would be giving me different stats for the same item. You're going to find that most of your currency, is probably going towards the funding of your cyberware, because cyberware is so important now, and everything else you're going to get in abundance. I highly recommend holding off on spending your money on cars, because you'll find and earn better cars than you can buy, and you'll find them early and fast and often. Same with weapons. You're going to get some really cool weapons. You don't need to spend money buying weapons, because you're going to get them constantly while you're playing the game. And just so you know, that the selection of items that you can buy from the Ripperdoc is dependent on things like your level. So all of the Ripperdocs will have the same things for sale, but what each of them has for sale is going to be tied to things like your levels. As you're progressing through the game, keep on coming back to the Ripperdoc to see new items available for sale. The higher level you are, the more items you'll be able to buy, and the better items you'll be able to buy. For instance, the legs that let you double jump, you cannot find legs for sale at the Ripperdocs until you get to level 10. I believe hands are the same way, or is it arms? You can't get those until level 10. So if you're looking for something and you can't find it at the Ripperdoc, it's probably just the case that you are not high enough level to find that at the Ripperdoc yet. You're not doing anything wrong. You just need to level up some more. Okay, so let's talk about a really important topic, and that is going to be weapons and weapon damage and loot and all of that good stuff. So as you progress through the game, you're going to find items that are either non-iconic or iconic in terms of weapons. And when you find a non-iconic weapon, you cannot upgrade that. It is what it is. If it's a tier 3, it's always going to be a tier 3. You can fill its mod slots, you can put attachments on it, all that good stuff, but you cannot upgrade the tier of that non-iconic item. Item damage is determined by the tier of the item. So no longer is it the case that your weapon damage is based on what level you are when you pick it up. It used to be that the strategy was to avoid picking up any good weapons while you were low level early in the game, because if you did that, it would always be a low level weapon, and you basically just ruined that weapon by picking it up early in the game. So they got rid of that whole system of tying weapon damage to your level, and instead have this tier system. And you can find items of varying tiers, and if you're low level, you're going to be very likely to find a low tier item, and you're going to be able to upgrade items to lower tiers. And when you get higher level, you're going to be more likely to find higher tier items, and you're going to be able to upgrade them to even higher tiers, all the way up to, so far, 5++. So you've got tier 2, tier 2+, 3, 3+, 4, 4+, 5, 5+, and then 5++, right? Those are the different levels of tiers of weapons that you can have right now. And the great thing about iconic weapons is they're the only ones that can be upgraded. These are basically legendaries in other games. They come with a nice little stat. They usually have some eccentric name, eccentric stats attached to them, and some really cool abilities, kind of making them very unique. These are your unique weapons in the game. And that's why it's so nice that you can find them early now and then upgrade them using the crafting section here to go to upgrades, and you can pick the iconic item that you want to come and upgrade. And right now I can't do it. I have insufficient components. I need 40 of these tier 5 item components, and right now I don't currently have that on me. I wonder if we did a quick crafting session, we could fix that though. So we come here and we craft as many tier 2 components as we can, and then as many tier 3 components as we can. Work our way up the tree here, and then make as many tier 5 components as we can. Okay, so now we go back to upgrades, and yes, we can upgrade one of these to 5 if we want. So I could take this sniper rifle and upgrade it to tier 5. I could take this assault rifle that's already tier 5 and upgrade it to 5+, just by pressing this button here while I have the materials that it's requesting. So just be aware of the fact that as far as weapons go, iconic are the only ones that you can upgrade, and it'll say iconic right there. And just doing that crafting just leveled up my engineer stat twice, which is always nice. Oh, there is another car to steal. Would you look at that? Oh, it's tempting. Oh, it's tempting, but I'm recording a video right now. Oh man, I gotta let it go. Oh yeah, I hate to see it. We're gonna stay on task here so we can get this video up for you guys. Tempting it is for me to squirrel right now and just play the game. Which brings us to the next section here. You know, those quick access items. These are the ones that are on cooldown. So we've got our heal here, and then we have other ones that we could choose to slot. We've got our grenades, and here's all the different types of grenades that we have available to us to slot into this position so that that becomes the item that's on cooldown. And then over here, we've got our backpack, crafting, and stats. So these are going to be really important, and these ones probably need some more explanation compared to a lot of the stuff in this video. And let's first tackle backpack. Okay, so for the backpack, what you're looking at here, these are components. These are what you're going to need for crafting. So the way you get these components is by disassembling items or by killing enemies and just looting their corpse. And sometimes they'll have 10 tier 1 crafting components on them, right? But these are important. You're going to need lots of them. And the crafting system is a really effective way to use those to make items and also to upgrade these items. So you can upgrade tier 1 components into tier 2 components and tier 2 components into tier 3 and so on. So if I wanted tier 5 components, I could just upgrade all of these to this, upgrade all of those, right? But we'll talk about that more when we get into the crafting section right after this. Over here, we've got different tabs. So junk is, it's junk. It's pretty much just good for selling. That's what it's for. You've got your weapons, your melee weapons, your clothing. Again, you don't need to carry your clothing on you, and it does weigh stuff. You can sell it or disassemble it. You do not need to hold on to it. It's going to go into your wardrobe all the same, and you'll be able to put it on anytime you want. There's no reason to carry all of this around with you and make yourself overweight. Like, I really need to go through my inventory here. So yeah, definitely don't hold on to clothes. You don't need to. You can disassemble them for these parts. If you hover over it, it tells you how many parts you get. Usually it's only 1 for clothes. So they don't sell for a ton. They don't disassemble for a ton, right? There's not a huge amount to be gained from clothing. Oh, here's a vest. Speaking of which, to see how it has 20 armor there, whereas pretty much nothing else does. You get a little bit of extra weapon zoom from your goggles. That's right. The goggles also have that little chemical resistance from the mask, right? Some RP kind of going on there. Vest, goggles, mask, right? These things actually have some functionality to them, whereas shirts don't, and legs don't, they don't have any stats on them. And you've got your consumables. The consumables in this game are useful, but they're not necessary. I find myself, being the type of player that has largely ignored my consumables, and I haven't really felt like it's been detrimental to my playthrough. 5% increased stamina regen rate. Well, okay, that's nice. 2 max RAM, that would be nice, especially in some situations, and it lasts for 1800 seconds, right? So some of these are certainly nice, especially situationally. So just be aware of the fact that you're going to constantly be looting these things. Fortunately, they don't weigh anything. So if you pick them up and you don't use them, it's no harm, no foul, right? You can just kind of hoard all this as much as you want, pick it all up every time you see it. And you don't have to worry about like, oh man, I've picked up a lot of freaking hot dogs. I'm going to be overweight. No, don't worry. It doesn't weigh anything. And then you've got the grenades, and then you've got your attachments and mods, which we kind of touched on earlier. And then you've got the junk, which we talked about at the beginning here. That's just for selling. Then you've got all items if you just want to see everything all at once. There are filters in all of these menus. Just be aware, you can sort things by their weight. If you're overweight and you want to know what's weighing you down so bad, you can sort them by their DPS. You can sort them by their quality. You can sort them by all kinds of very useful things over here. Maybe you want to see if you have anything really valuable on you. You can do that. Then over here, you've got quick hack components. Again, these components and these quick hack components, you will find them when you're looting, and you will find them from disassembling items. So you'll be getting these a lot, and you'll be using them a lot. Then we have crafting, which I kind of touched on just a little bit here. So you'll be able to find and purchase crafting recipes and ammo and all kinds of good stuff, right? So we look at the ammo. We can craft ammo by using tier 1 components. That's great. That's very nice, right? So handgun ammo, heavy ammo. So if you are out in the field and you find, oh man, I'm out of ammo on my favorite weapon, well, don't worry. Just come in here and craft ammo for your favorite weapon. Problem solved. And you'll find that you have a ton of those low tier components, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue for you. Now, it isn't a horrible idea to just switch weapons and save these components for upgrading them into the better components, because as you'll see here, if we want to craft tier 2 item components, it says we're going to need 5 tier 1 item components. So we could do mass crafting. I have 2,500. So I could craft quite a few tier 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Boom. I just crafted 258 tier 2 components. Now that I have a ton of tier 2 components, I can come here to the tier 3 component section. And again, for 5 tier 2s, we can create 1 tier 3. So we would do that. Come here, we just boop, create a bunch of those. Now we have a ton of tier 3 components, and then tier 4 components. And right, we can craft some tier 4 components. Now, finally, if we want to make a tier 5 component, the highest tier component for those legendary items, right, then we could do that here. And boop. There we go. Right. So now we have those. And then you could finally craft one of these. So if I had created 30 of those tier 5 components, I would be able to create this legendary SOAR 22. And that's how crafting works. It's actually one of those things where you open up this menu and you're like, oh my God, what am I looking at? This looks so confusing, especially the layout, the menu. There's so much going on, so many colors. Actually, it's really easy. This is your tier 1 stuff, tier 2 stuff that's in green, tier 3 stuff in blue, tier 4 in purple, and then tier 5 is in your gold color here. And to make one of these items, if you want to make a tier 1 item, it just uses tier 1 components. You want to make a tier 2 item, uses tier 2 components. It's that simple. It's really easy. So don't be afraid of using this and interacting with and engaging with the system. Check for recipes when you're at merchants, vendors. Look and see if they have any good recipes for you to buy, blueprints for you to buy, so that you can craft more weapons. Then finally, here we have stats. Under this section, you can see damage per second of the weapon you're using right now, your armor that you have on your character at the moment, your health, right? It tells you your health, regen, stamina, right? All this good stuff. Just hover over these and you can see all of your stats as well as your time played on this playthrough. 45 hours on this one as a street kid, level 30, almost 31, we're at 95%, and then 50 street cred, right? We had maxed out our street cred on this character already. And that's what I was saying. It's really easy to max out your street cred, like just really easy. Okay, so the next thing that's really going to confuse people, I think, at least when they first jump into the game, is going to be the map, because you're just looking at so much information when you open this sucker up.
What the f is this piece of shit?
I mean, look at all of those icons, right? And so a lot of people's brains, they kind of just turn off when they open this thing up, and rightfully so. There's a lot of icons. That's one of the reasons this game is so dang fun. There's just so much going on, so much to do. But, let's filter out some of the noise first here. So what we can do is let's turn everything off for a minute and go over this one at a time here. So first thing we've got is our main jobs, right? These are the gold exclamation points. These are the main jobs and the side jobs. And these tend to be, your critical story components. These are things you absolutely want to do at some point while you're playing. When you see side jobs and main jobs available to do, it's never a bad idea to do them, but don't feel rushed to do them either, because part of the fun of this game is all of that extra side content, and each piece of content has a use and a story and something fun attached to it. So kind of do everything. So up here is Watson, the north side. Over here we've got Westbrook, Japantown, all that good stuff. Over here we've got City Center and the downtown. These are the high rises and stuff. Looks real nice. Then you got Santo Domingo, Rancho Coronado. And then over here you've got Pacifica, and next to that you've got the new zone that was added with Phantom Liberty, Dogtown. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to familiarize yourself with is going to be fast travel. So let's turn those on. Boom. That's a lot of fast travel locations. So the way fast travel in this game works is you have to walk up to or drive up to and then get out of your car and interact with a fast travel station. In fact, let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we turn around. Here's a fast travel station. They always look like this. They've always got this green holographic map floating above them. They're really easy to spot, and they're on your map if you're ever not sure like how to get to one or where to go, right? And so the way they work is you have to interact with it, and then you click on the one you want to go to. So if I wanted to go over here, I would just click on this one and it would take me to this fast travel station. So you can fast travel from one fast travel location to another. You can't just be out in the middle of nowhere and then teleport to a fast travel station. It doesn't work like that. You can use these as often as you want. It's free. It's easy, right? You can do that. However, the one thing to be aware of with fast travel is while you're fast traveling, you're not driving around in your car. And you'll find that as you're driving around in your car, you're going to get calls. People are going to call you. They're going to want you to do things for them. They're going to ask for your help with things, or they're going to have missions or quests for you to do, right? And you're going to get those a lot while driving. And you're also going to be driving by events that pop up as you're driving. So don't fast travel 100% of the time. Try to drive places once in a while just to make sure that you're getting those important phone calls, that you're hearing those important dialogue options, and that you're also, experiencing all the cool stuff that pops up all over the city. So that's fast traveling. All right, next up, let's talk about gigs. So for the gigs, you're going to see these popping up all over the map. As you drive through an area, a gig will pop up. It'll get a text message and it'll say, hey, I need you to take care of this, or I need to take care of that, right? They're going to be counting. There's going to be this person here for Watson, for instance, Regina Jones, and she's going to be tabulating all of the gigs you've done for her. We're at 11 out of 23 progress for her in this region right now. And there's someone like that for each of these areas. You got Wakako here. Just look for that symbol and, check in. They're going to give you gigs to do basically. Here you got Dino, and it's going to be a great source of loot, money, street cred, definitely worth doing those. And if you're pretty proactive about doing it, you're going to get a lot of cool stuff. Then we've got Cyberpsycho Sightings. They are exactly what they sound like. That's the symbol here. You go there. These can be pretty tough, so just be ready for a good fight. The Cyberpsychos are no joke. Go prepared, maybe make sure you get your newest set of upgrades or your weapon upgraded or whatever, or just go in there and, have at it with them, power to you. But just be prepared for a little bit of a fight. These can be tough, definitely. Some more so than others, depending on what kind of cyberpsycho they are. For completing those, again, you're going to get street cred. You're going to progress your storyline with Regina here and get some pretty cool rewards. And it's worth noting that you have the option to either kill them or keep them alive. Then you've got the NCPD Scanner. So this is kind of a way for you to get street cred by being a good guy. You run around, you see assault in progress, reported crime, and you'll basically see like some gang members, and you can go kill those people and get a ton of street cred that way. I think this is one of the biggest contributors to me being 50 street cred so fast, is because I was pretty proactive about ending these gang members' lives every time I saw them doing something bad on the streets. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, I had max street cred out. Next, we have Ripperdocs. Ripperdocs we touched on a little bit earlier. This is where you're going to go to buy your cyberware. Definitely visit the Ripperdocs, see what they have in stock. As you level up, more stuff's going to be available, and cooler items, better items are going to be available. So check in with them from time to time and keep your cyberware equipped. Keep yourself, using some pretty cool items. Next up, you have your vendors. Okay, so vendors, there's all kinds of vendors in the game. You can buy weapons, you can buy medical stuff, you can buy food for those buffs, drink buffs. And then you've got your clothing vendors. If you want your character to look cool, swing by the clothing shops. So each of them has different clothing for sale depending on the region. So you'll get like your business suits in the city, and you'll get other stuff like out in the suburbs, right? Like it's going to be kind of based on where that shop is located, what kind of clothes are inside of it. So definitely visit these and, up your drip. You've also got Netrunners. Netrunners you're going to want to visit, right? And you're definitely wanting to visit those, especially if you're doing more of a Netrunner playthrough, because you are going to want to slot as many mods as you can here. You want your cyber deck to be in good condition so that you have lots of RAM, aka lots of mana to cast lots of those hacks, right? And you want mods here to basically buff your character. All very good to have. So make sure that you've got something in every slot that you have available, and find items that sound cool to you. That's what the Netrunner vendor is for. And then you've got the weapons we talked about. All of this is mostly self-explanatory. You've got a junk shop where you can buy and sell almost anything. No refunds though, be careful. Then we have the Autofixer. You can go to these places to purchase cars. And like I said, I don't recommend doing this early because you're going to find some cars that are so much better than the ones that you can buy. You can find them, you can do quests to earn them. And the ones you buy, there's some pretty cool ones, don't get me wrong, but they're going to be really expensive. It's going to take all your cash, and you probably could have found or earned a better one in game. Then there are drop points. So drop points are pretty cool, very useful. You're going to use these for a couple of things. Sometimes you'll be doing like a gig or something and you'll get an item, and that item will need to be dropped off. So you go to a drop point and you drop it off there. Sometimes you'll want to sell your junk or your weapons, right? Like maybe you need cash more than you need weapon parts. And if that's the case, then you're going to go to these drop points and you're going to sell the weapons, sell the armor, sell anything that you can get cash for so that you can buy that cyberware or buy, whatever it is that you need to spend money on. So you're definitely going to be using those drop points often. And then there's exploration, and it says Joy Toy. If you don't know what services are offered here, maybe it's better you don't use them. Maybe check that out, guys. And next, you have your apartments for rent. These are places you can go ahead and rent out. Rent the Japantown apartment, $30,000 one-time fee. So if your house is underwhelming to you and you want a cooler spot and a cooler location, or you just want a change of pace, you can go to these places and you can get new apartments to rent out. Your apartment is where you're going to do things like sleep. It's going to be where you do things like talk to Johnny. Whenever you go there to sleep or whenever you go there to shower, make sure to strike up a conversation with Johnny once you've got to that part of the story. And there'll be some great dialogue and, maybe push some story along. Then you've got tarot cards. Tarot cards are one of the more interesting kind of like collector type of activities in the game. They're going to be all over the city. You'll run into them and they'll pop up on your map saying, hey, go grab this. You're close by. And they're just basically graffiti on the wall. And by grabbing them, you're going to unlock a quest chain with a character called Misty, and she's going to basically explain to you the lore behind that tarot card. And The main thing to know about these tarot cards is at the end of collecting all of them, you get a dream catcher that hangs above your bed, and that's it. It's just a cosmetic for your house. So, if you're a completionist, go get it. But if you were wondering what you get for the work of going around town and collecting all of these everywhere, it's just a dream catcher, which to me is surprisingly underwhelming. I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but for all the work, I was kind of hoping for something a little more exciting there. Then we've got our apartment. If you ever forget where your apartment is, it's up here, guys. In Watson, you've got this apartment up here, and you can go there anytime you want, or you can just, if you ever can't find it, just, zoom out, turn everything off, just turn it on and off, and you'll find the blinking thing, right? So that's everything that can be on the map. There's a lot of markers on the map, so hopefully that helps you kind of sort through all of the noise there. And then you can click on objectives so that it leads you to it. You can use the map to get to places, right? So if I click on one of these and then I come out here, it's going to say, okay, to get there, right? It's going to tell me how to get there. Definitely take advantage of that. A lot of times, one of the things you want to do is you want to know how to get to the nearest fast travel so you can teleport to your next location. If your location was going to be over here, right? I don't want to run or drive that far necessarily every time. So sometimes I just say, okay, how do I get to the nearest fast travel point? So then I follow the blue line and I go to the fast travel point and then teleport to the nearest fast travel point to that location over there. And then you've got your journal, which is all of your quests, all of your missions, everything that you can do for someone else to get a reward, to get experience, to get anything, to unlock some story, right? That's your journal. So if you ever want to know, hey man, what kind of things could I tackle right now? What could I do next? You can do that. And it's got this nice function where it shows you how far you are from that objective. So you might be like, I wonder, since I'm on this side of town and I have so many things to do, if there's anything really close. And it turns out I'm only 380 meters from this one. So I could go do that right now. That's a really short run. Okay, so when it comes to what kind of quests you should do and what kind of quests you should ignore, what should you focus on, there's not a right or wrong answer there, really. My answer is all of it. Do all of it. It's all real fun. There's always good stories, fun rewards, all that good stuff. But focusing on the main quests, these gold markers, these are big things that you definitely want to do. There's a lot of effort put into these quests, and usually the rewards are pretty nice. So definitely do those. And then you've got your gigs, which is going to be your secondary quest content, your side quest content, which, there can be some really elaborate, nice little things that you find in the process of doing these as well. Don't get me wrong, but not quite to the same scale as these gold quests here. And right here, it tells you which ones you've completed so far. So if you ever want to know if you did finish something or didn't or whatever, you'll see it in there if it's done. By clicking on a quest in here, you can choose whether you're tracking it or not. So you click on the quest and then you click, boom, now we are tracking that quest. Or you can just simply double click it, right? Click on it, click it again, and now it's tracking it. So kind of two ways to skin that cat. And if you ever pick up a quest and you're not sure which quest it is in this long chain of quests, you can sort by newest here. And the one that you picked up most recently will be there, right? You can sort by nearest if you want to know which quests are closest to you. You can do that. Lots of good sorting options down here. Then you've got your shards. These are just basically lore bits you find throughout the world. That's it. You can click on them and read them after you find them and get a little bit of lore. And then you've got your tarot cards. This is where you can see how many of them you've collected, how many are still missing before you can get that sweet dream catcher. Now, just like there are tarot cards around Night City, there's also, I believe, 4 new tarot cards in Dogtown for you to look out for. So if you've already found all the ones throughout Night City, be sure to check out Dogtown and collect those last 4 that were just added with Phantom Liberty. Then down here, you've got the database. This is going to be basically it's your database. You want to know about a car that's in the game, you can click on it here. You want to know about a weapon, you can click on it here and find the lore and the info on that weapon. And same for everything. You want to know what characters, information, right? Basically, if you want to know anything about the game, there's a nice little section in here called the database for you to do that. Up here in the top right, you have your encumbered state. So I'm at 302 out of 385. And so let's talk about being encumbered and what that means. So if you get encumbered, then you're going to start moving really slow. It's a big pain in the butt. The easiest way to deal with that is anytime you become encumbered is to come into your inventory and then start disassembling weapons. And so you'll see I'm at 302. If I disassemble this weapon, I'm at 291 from disassembling the one item. And in return, it gave me some parts that I can use for crafting if I want to later. Alternatively, if I want money, I can go to one of those drop points we talked about and I can sell them. And you can see guns sell very well. 2,500 for this one, 4,500 for this one. And if you go out and you kill a lot of enemies, you'll get a lot of guns. That money will add up really fast if you want it to. And same with the crafting components. If you want it to, it'll add up really fast if you're going out killing and looting absolutely everything. As far as your money goes, you can get money a lot of ways by doing quests, by looting enemies, by selling loot that you find. Just about every way you would expect to make money in this game, you can make money in this game. And you're also going to spend a lot of it, especially on that cyberware, especially getting those good pieces. And then later on, if you want the nice apartments or the nice cars and stuff, you can definitely drop some coin pretty fast that way too. All right, now let's talk about cars and driving in Cyberpunk. Driving is pretty straightforward. You know, it's going to be like it always is on whatever platform you're playing on. If you're playing on console, you'll know how to drive a car. If you're playing on PC, you know how to drive a car. That's all going to be pretty straightforward. Down in the bottom left, it's going to tell you your speed. So I'm going right there. It tells me 100 miles per hour or so. And now as part of both the base game and the expansion, you're going to be able to steal cars and turn them in. And there's a whole nice chain for that and some nice rewards that come along with that. Now with Phantom Liberty, they have added a new one and there's some really nice rewards tied to it. I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys, but just know that when you see the steering wheel on the map, it is going to be worth doing that. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, you could burn through the Phantom Liberty content if you want to, but I highly recommend participating in all the extra side content they've added to the game with it while you're going through it. You know, take a break from the Phantom Liberty storyline from time to time to go and steal some cars, to go and do some gigs, you know, do all that extra side content that they have done such a fantastic job of adding to the game. Now, when you do one of these vehicle contracts, you head over to it. The way these vehicle contracts work is there will be a car that you need to steal. A lot of times it will have some guys around it that are going to be there to basically try to prevent you from stealing it. And if you try, they're going to not really be too happy about it. So you'll have to kill them. Or ignore them if you would like to let them shoot at you. Just know that if they shoot at you, that means they're shooting at the car. And the more beat up the car is, the worse the rewards for turning in the car are. So you want to try to get it to him in as good a shape as possible. Now, while you're driving to him into the drop-off point, you're going to occasionally run into guys trying to stop you. There's a say rivalry between him and some other guys that are basically in the same line of work, and they're going to try to stop you from stealing these cars so that they can have them for their own gains. And basically the quest is going to say to deliver the vehicle to the indicated location. You're very likely going to have some competition trying to prevent you from doing exactly that. They're going to be firing at you, firing at your vehicle. This is a good time to engage in some vehicle-to-vehicle combat. Take them out as soon as possible because you don't want them to damage your vehicle, because it is going to make it worthless when you go to turn it in. And it looks like we got lucky on this one. We didn't run into any of the rival gangs while trying to turn this one in. So the vehicle should be in pretty good shape when we turn it in. You should be pretty happy. Get out of the vehicle. Then we come over here and we take our reward. How about that? Nice legendary items there. Some tier 5 components. Juicy. Skill shard for Netrunner. Heck yeah. Tier 4 item components, tier 3 item components. And by the way, it's a good time to mention that you will find skill shards throughout the game, and they're just going to give you experience towards the name of the skill that the skill shard is named after. So that was a Netrunner skill shard. So if we look at our character here and we go into our skills, Netrunner just got a chunk of XP because we found the Netrunner skill shard. And you'll find those all over the game. We got one as a reward for this. You'll loot them from enemies. You'll find them in chests all over the place. So that's what skill shards are. When you find them, you don't have to open up your inventory and consume it. It's going to automatically consume when you pick it up. Man, does this game look gorgeous or what? I don't know if you guys can see it on the video. I don't know if it translates very well, but this is one of the most beautiful games I've ever played, dude. All that ray tracing finally doing everything they hoped it would do is just looking fantastic in here. And just to quickly touch on the difference between the conversation options, your gold ones are going to be the ones that send the conversation forward. You're kind of committing to a direction, whereas blue ones are extra dialogue, where you can kind of dive into the conversation a little bit more, maybe learn a little bit more about the character, how they're feeling about the moment, and give your character a chance to express itself in some way. But the blue one is not going to move the conversation forward. So you can always do the blue one before you do the gold one. But if you do the gold answer, then you may not have a chance to do that blue answer that was waiting for you to press it there. Alternatively, sometimes you'll see a symbol next to one of these indicating that it's going to be a body check or a reflex check or something like that. It'll say that you have 6 out of 9, meaning you needed 9 to be able to use that option. 9, but you only had 6, or it'll say you have 9 out of 6, meaning you have 9 and you only needed 6, so you can use that option. And this is one of the ways that the game deviates your playthrough based on the stats that you pick, based on the attributes that you choose to spec into. So no matter what, you're going to have the stats for some of the conversation checks, and you're not going to have the stats for some of the conversation checks, and which is just another great reason to play through the game a second time. When you see this symbol somewhere, that's just a little bit of lore. You can go ahead and pick that up. And along with that, you'll see items like guns, armor, and sometimes you'll even see broken guns. And when you see a broken gun, make sure to loot it, because all it's going to basically do is give you the parts from that weapon as if you had disassembled it anyway. So always worth it to take the loot, either to disassemble it yourself or to have it to sell or all of that stuff, right? It's either going to be worth picking up or it's not going to weigh anything anyway. All right, for the quick hacking section, for the quick hacking and Netrunner section of this video, I am going to show you Deshplease's video here. She made a tremendous guide for this, and so we've worked together to get that into this video. So there is a ton of really good information in this. I was going to make my own, and I looked at this and I said, look, this guide was going to be better than anything that I was going to make with the time constraints I had. So check it out and enjoy. I will be on the other end to greet you guys when you finish this section. This is everything you need to know about quick hacks.
Remember, the amount of quick slots you have is determined by your cyber deck. So when you're upgrading your cyber deck, the amount of quick slots is a factor you'll want to consider. You can also view available quick hacks if you go into scan mode. You can access this by holding tab on PC. On the left, you'll see a list of all your available quick hacks. In order to initiate a quick hack, you will need RAM. Think of RAM as the cost or battery juice you need to execute your quick hacks. If you're not sure on your RAM stats, in the character screen under health, you'll see your RAM listed as well as your RAM recovery rate, both during and not during combat. Quick hacks can be unlocked, purchased, and even crafted. You can unlock quick hacks by completing missions. For example, you can unlock the ping quick hack by completing a quest called The Gift early on. If you don't want to wait to unlock quick hacks, you can actually buy some from a vendor. Purchasing some base quick hacks early on can be a great strategy. To do this, you'll need to visit a Netrunner NPC. Look for this icon on your map. I would recommend buying all base quick hacks so you'll have access to them whenever you need. Note that once you acquire these base quick hacks, later on, you'll most likely want to craft your own. If you're looking to craft quick hacks, you'll want to spec into the intelligence attribute. Make sure you've equipped the quick hack you want to upgrade by clicking Cyber Deck and selecting it under Mods. You must also have the necessary quick hack components listed. You can find these in your backpack under Inventory. You can acquire quick hack components by completing breach protocols and uploading demons to access points. You can also upgrade the rarity of your current quick hacks to increase your favorite effects. When you successfully breach protocol, you're hacking all devices and enemies connected to that particular network. Using the ping quick hack will show you which ones are connected and highlight them all so they're easy to spot. You can ping enemies and even cameras, giving you an advantage if you're sneaking by or planning a sneak attack. Look for the icon on devices, near walls, etc. And now for a little tutorial on breach protocol. To breach protocol, you will need to connect to an access point, jack in or out, or open a data shard, which you can use if you're interested in lore. Upon doing so, you will see a screen with these 4 parts: code matrix, sequence required to upload, buffer, and breach time remaining. The code matrix works sort of like a crossword puzzle that alternates between rows and columns. Sequence required to upload is the possible sequence or sequences you can complete to upload and unlock demons or viruses to the network. Each sequence unlocks a corresponding demon and reward once successfully activated. Rewards include effects, $, components, or quick hacks. Buffer is how many slots or moves you have to successfully complete the sequence. Breach time remaining is your time left to complete the sequence. Once you understand the breach protocol minigame, it can be a lot of fun and give you some great rewards. Starting with the top row, the number-letter combination you choose will determine which column you have access to next, followed by the following row, then the following column, etc. Depending on which you're on, you'll be able to move left or right in each row and up or down in each column, but you are locked to that particular row or column during that move. The first letter number combination does not necessarily have to be the first one in a sequence. As long as you complete the sequence in order within the buffer slots you have, you will successfully upload that demon to the access point and receive the corresponding rewards. You can hover over each letter number combination in the sequence to see every time it appears in the code matrix. This can help you plan out your moves in advance, and I recommend doing so since the countdown timer, or breach time remaining, doesn't start until you make your first move, so take as long as you want in this planning stage. Note that the first letter number combination does, however, impact which column you'll have access to next, so pay attention to all the possible options when planning out your moves. Either way, the first letter number combo you choose will take up one buffer slot. Notice each sequence will shift one space once the first buffer slot is filled, even if you haven't started to unlock a sequence yet. As long as you have enough buffer slots to complete the sequence in order, you're good to go. As you progress through the game, the code matrix will increase and the sequences will become more complicated and harder to complete. This is why additional buffer slots really come in handy. More buffer slots equal more chances at getting all 3 sequences and more demons unlocked, meaning more Euro dollars, etc. You'll start with 4 buffer slots, but you can get additional slots by upgrading your cyber deck when visiting a Ripperdoc. You can also craft your own or unlock additional slots by leveling. Any sequences you don't complete, whether you ran out of time, buffer slots, or misclicked, will be marked as failed. If you don't see any feasible options between the code matrix and the sequences, you can back out and start over if you do so before you make your first move and activate the countdown timer. Each time you do this, once you start, you will have less time to complete the sequences, but it can sometimes work out in your favor. Or you can always save right before and load that previous save if you fail to initiate a sequence. If you're just starting out or have few buffer slots and can only complete one sequence, go for the bottom one since it has the best rewards. Remember, practice makes perfect. Even early on, if you follow this strategy, you usually can get between 1 to 2 sequences, even with only 4 buffer slots. Once you acquire more, or level and unlock passives, you'll have an easier time getting all 3 sequences. But more on that in a bit. On some devices, like a vending machine, laptop, or elevator, you may see an option to jack in or use. You can sometimes even hack into people. Keep in mind, you can actually get hacked by enemy netrunners as well. If you're being hacked, you'll see a notice at the bottom of your screen that says "Attention, Overheat." If this happens, make sure to go into scan mode as quickly as possible and look for yellow lines leading you to which enemy or device is hacking you. In this mode, you'll be able to quickly interrupt the attack by counterattacking or by annihilating the threat altogether. Whether you're breaching protocol or unloading quick hacks on enemies, coming up with a good strategy is never a bad idea. Having a plan of attack can give you more control over a fight, give you more flexibility, and will make for an overall stress-free and fun experience the more you do it. You can scan things pretty far away, and you can even scan while taking over a camera and initiate quick hacks while in this mode. It never hurts to plan ahead, right? Need an example? My order of operations, or plan of attack when approaching a fight, is something like this. First I scan, maybe turning off cameras or taking them over. I love pinging enemies and devices to see what I have surrounding me. Then I breach protocol and go into our minigame. Then I execute a round of quick hacks. Contagion is great when there's a group of enemies. Overheat, synapse burnout, and short circuit are great for finishing off enemies, while cyberpsychosis and suicide are great for tough enemies. Once I've done some hacking, I like to toss out some grenades, then run in Rambo style, guns blazing, or slice and dice enemies with my blades. Whichever strategy you come up with, make it your own to fit your personal playstyle, and remember to have fun.
All right, guys, welcome back. Hope you learned a lot during that section of the video. That was Deshplease. You can find her at twitch.tv/Deshplease or youtube.com/Deshplease. Now let's resume the rest of the video. Okay, the next thing we'll skim over here are the settings and anything you could kind of be aware of in here. Just know that you can come in here and you can adjust what type of sound you're using. If you're using headphones, you can change it to headphones. You can change the volume. You can change, all your normal volume controls. You can turn subtitles on or off, change the text size, you know, some nice accessibility options in here. For your controls, you can come in here and fine tune all of that good stuff if you'd like to. If you find that, see, you can change your steering sensitivity if that's something that's bothering you. And same with all your other sensitivities for first person, third person, all that good stuff. Under gameplay here, you can change the game's difficulty. You can change it normal, hard, very hard, and even easy, of course. You can have aim assists, and you can change how much aim assists you get. So if you're tired of missing shots, you know, go ahead. Or if you want to do all your own aiming, you can turn that sucker right off if you want to. Snap to target. If you aim, it's going to snap to the target. It's going to help you there. You can come down and turn off tutorials. Once you get onto your second and third playthrough, you may want to do that. Skipping dialogue, you can choose to have it skip dialogue one line at a time or an entire conversation. And so if you're the type of person that hates story and just likes bang bang, well, you can come in here and choose the continuous option. And then when you press dialogue skip button, it's going to skip the whole conversation instead of just that sentence that they're speaking in that moment. And also, if you get tired of calls, you know, those holo calls from NCPD dispatch calls or from fixers, right? And you're like, man, just leave me alone. You can come in here and turn those calls off and just get to them when you get to them. Under graphics, you know, all your good old graphic settings. Definitely, if you are running a newer NVIDIA card, take advantage of the DLSS. This stuff is incredibly powerful and the game looks gorgeous with it. Really popular options people are going to like to turn off are probably going to be motion blur. And you're also probably going to want to come in here and change your depth of field, right? These are pretty popular ones people want to change. There's film grain on. You can turn that off, that kind of stuff. Video, nothing really to talk about there. All your usual video settings. Interface, you know, some more accessibility options. It's got a colorblind mode here for people that would like to use that. You can turn damage numbers on and off, hit indicators, all kinds of good stuff in here if you want to play with that. If you want less HUD and you want more immersion, you can come here and start turning off HUD items if you'd like to. And then finally, your key bindings. And you know what that is, right? You can come here and bind some stuff. All right, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This video was a ton of work, as my complete beginner guides are. I always make these massive guides for these massive games. It's something I thoroughly enjoy doing. If you're somehow still here at the end of this video, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. You're an absolute legend. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more gaming content. Also, a massive shout out to my YouTube channel members. If you want to become a channel member and support the channel, click the join button down below to have your name show up at the end of these videos, to get access to a private Discord channel, and to see some behind the scenes footage. Also, don't forget to check out this video sponsor, linked in the pinned comment below or in the description. If you're not sure what to do next, maybe check out one of my videos popping up on screen right now.